Hi guys, welcome back to another channel message. This is for Saturday, June the 21st. I almost said July, 2025. Today we're pulling from the Dragon Tarot. So this is definitely a powerful message, telling a story here. So the Fool, a brand new beginning, and it's just trusting this leap of faith. This could be what I was seeing. A lot of people are saying moves. This could be to new location. This could be like your actual physical dwelling, your workplace, or I feel like an offer for this. I don't know necessarily. They're showing an airplane, so it could be, they're saying location. It could be a location where you travel for some reason. They have the Hermit here, so showing the light of the situation. More information coming forward, because sometimes we make decisions and we made those decisions based off the information we had at the time. So definitely forgiveness of yourself, because or it could be that you went through a journey. If you follow my channel, you will see that we were, it just came up, like controlling your thoughts. Like, right now we're heading into that new moon energy. So you're in that kind of void of course energy where it's like, it's almost a brand new beginning, like we're showing with the Fool card, taking a leap of faith, 0. You know what I mean? Just, control your thoughts, because it is hard. I say those things and I know a lot of people are probably saying to themselves, that's easy for you to say. And it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because I've been through those trials and tribulations, trust me. The last 8 years has not been easy. It's gotten easier in some aspects. Blessings have come in. Stability has come in. So, but it's still, there's always that, it's coming to the end of the month. So it could be in that way where, bills are due. But you got to sit there and just be like, okay, take a breath. Let's bring it back to reality. All the bills are paid? Check. We have rent ready? Check. Or mortgage or whatever the situation is, and it's just like bringing ourselves to a place, I know all of us are going through situations, obviously with, all around the world, we're going through this heavy taxation. They always call, the governments like Little John from Robin Hood, the cartoon, where he's sitting there and he's like taxing them to death. You can't pay the taxes, they throw you in jail, with the war pending, can't do it, you go to war. But it's just like sitting there and it's like, don't future trip. Chris, and I'm going to keep giving him his flowers because that's where I saw it from. I was meant to see it. I was meant to hear it, and he sat there. They're like, what did you learn in therapy? If Ryland didn't ask him that question, we never would have known, and I'm very thankful for people like you learn something. It's like, share that information because it was meant to be shared. You heard it so you could share it with others, and it's very powerful. And I tried not to future trip, but when he's like, I don't know, it just resonated. I've been telling myself this for the longest time, and I've been telling others this, but it's like when someone puts it, it's like, do not allow yourself to think past 2 weeks, because like he said, I'm in my head a lot, and I'm like, yeah, same. And then he's like, sometimes I can't even think a week ahead because it's just like my to-do list, and it's my own thing. Nobody gave me this list. It's just the way my mind works. This has got to get done. This got to get done. I was on vacation and I'm just like, listen, if it doesn't get done today, it will get done tomorrow. You know what I mean? And it's just like sitting there and living in the moment. Like, listen, I understand sometimes our brain is a blessing and sometimes it's our worst enemy. You know what I mean? And we get attacked because they can see that we're in good energy. People try to sit there and be energy vampires and push their own boohickey on you. So, you know what I mean? Get the rest and rejuvenation you need, because there is something coming up here in 3 weeks time, 3 to 6 weeks, that you're going to need your energy for. So if you're sitting there and it's like, you think about everything you've done. Sometimes I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so lazy. You slept until... I'm not. Because it's like, you got the deck stained. You got the foundation all fixed. You sat there and got the garden planted. Like, you know what I mean? It's like all the things I've done. And this is not to pep up my ego. It's just like, girl, you did a lot. I also did readings. I also worked some extra hours at work because I don't get paid night premium when I'm on vacation. So it's just like, you know what? It was a great vacation. In between planting the garden, it was hot. I took a rest. I go sit in the shade with my son. We're watching the clouds go by. We're seeing our initials in the sky. Seeing there was a bird flying overhead really high. You know, it's just living in the moment, being there. All the butterflies that were in the backyard, big yellow and black butterflies. It was just gorgeous. But there is information coming up here that you didn't know about. So someone's gonna confide in you. This is major stuff, and it's gonna be hard for you to bite your tongue, but you do. We have the Hierophant here. This is not part of his scale. It looks kind of like a leash. Yeah, because it goes all the way into the house. So the Hierophant is all about change. So we got a couple change cards here, you know? And the Hierophant is usually going to the pulpit, a higher up. I feel like court, you know? I actually got a channel message, and it said, let the justice system deal with it. So that could be with the Jack and Lily Sullivan case, where I've been getting a lot of channel messages, and I wrote them down. What's her name? Bella Sloan. Me and her on the same wavelength on a lot of things. Some things I was like, damn, really? And she said it. I'm like, oh wow. So that actually did happen. Because some things you get told, and it sounds so out there, but I've learned more and more. Like, I was doing a reading for someone. I'm like, this sounds so out there, but I'm like, you know what? Spirit tells me this. I'm just gonna share it. How out there it is, because 99.9% of the time it happens. So it's like, share it. They're showing the Empress seated position, rebirth in our life. You know, this could actually be a physical birth in some people's life. I love the fact it looks, yeah, it is a dragon's egg. I was gonna say it looks like you know, maybe you're sitting there and you're getting your eggs frozen, or you're sitting there and you're doing like IVF and you're getting an egg transfer, embryo transfer. So maybe that is a positive sign for you, that the embryo transfer is going to go well, because the way that it's positioned, it's like it's good in the birth canal. We have the Death card. Major change and transformation that leads to the sun. Cutting out people, places, things. Where they were saying location. Yes, Sonny, my dog is agreeing. I don't have a toy for you. He always partakes. But it's just like, you know, we're getting all this, you know, this is why they're saying rest and rejuvenation, because this is about to come up here. 8 of Pentacles. So this could be involving work, or this could be something that will, like, you're being observed. So this could be in, like, myself, if you have gifts or abilities, or you're being drawn to sit there and share your gifts and abilities. It's like, go ahead and do it. Go forth is what they're saying. You know what I mean? It's just like, if people, that's the thing, especially on TikTok, they will call you out if you're a fake or a phony. You know what I mean? They are very verbal on people that will sit there and take advantage of people. Yeah, this, I will say, people will message you and try to take advantage of your gift. They'll sit there and try to belittle you. They'll sit there and be like, oh, well, if you're a real this and this, then you would do this. And I'm like, you know what? If you don't see any value of what I do, I'm not for you. I just basically said, have a nice day. Block. I'm not going to get insulted. I know who I am and what I offer. You know? So, that's people's choice. You know, free will. We have the Star card. So, a time of peace, a time of healing is what they're saying. You know what I mean? Balancing our emotions and fun, like, oh, this star right here. There is a major star. It begins with an R. I can't remember the name of it. That's going to be in the sky. That's funny that that's there. I know it's literally the star card, but just the shape of it is literally what they were showing on this channel. That it's going to be in the sky. And I'm like, that looks like the Star of David when I saw it. But it's like we keep getting these knockings of balance. Very Libra energy. They were saying, like, the legal system, deal with it. Now that I say it out loud, I'm like, it must be that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, kind of like, you know, don't say anything. I can write channel messages. You know what I mean? But they're telling, I feel like maybe that's what it is. Let the legal system deal with it. We have the Sun card. Literally with the Death card, leading to the sun. You know, sunflowers may be significant to you. Like, you know, we just planted our sunflowers. I know we're kind of, well, no, we're not late. Well, yeah, it was the full moon. We were told, you know what I mean? I literally went to the garden center this weekend and I listened to what everyone said, don't plant until the full moon. So I didn't buy the tomato plants thinking that they would be there. They're like, yeah, we're like 30% off and everything's sold out. I was like, what? I've never seen it bare like that. I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, yeah. She's like, the first long weekend in Canada, Is like the last time we get tomato plants, and I was like, oh, good to know. So, mental note: don't listen to people because they're like, oh, you don't listen to me, you never listen to me, and you always flop on your face. And I was like, so clearly you don't know everything, as you like to proclaim. Here we go. Four of Pentacles. This is exactly what I was saying. Like, this is like kind of like knockings of things. So maybe this is where you're kind of apprehensive with the Four of Coins, keeping everything close to your chest because, like I said, like, it's a lot. When you're paying all your bills, it's like, yeah, you get a paycheck, but it's just like, you pay after you pay everything off. It's like, is there really much left over? You know what I mean? And if you have other like things like a car payment and gas, and it really does, you know what I mean? It's like, what are you left with? $20 if you're lucky, So I understand the apprehension, but also sit there and ground yourself, being like, all the bills are paid. Like, we shouldn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? We shouldn't have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs. But unfortunately, this is, where they sit there and they have us by the throat, basically, because it's like, you can't go without hydro. You can't go out with food, like, especially if kids. Temperance. Again, another card leading to the sun. Balance. This always represents like springtime. There's some sunflowers on the side of this one as well. But again, learning to balance. Finding that happy medium. Like, you could buy yourself a treat, but don't go crazy. Don't go to the fact where it's just like, ugh, like, again, the it feels like you're being choked. Ace of Wands. So this is following your intuition, and there's been times where I sat there and I'm just like, I just listened to myself. I'm just like, do this, just do it. You know what I mean? I should have just either grow it from seed next year, or I'm going to sit there and, and with my experience, when I grow from seed and I put it outside, the plants usually die. You know what I mean? So that's why I did really well with them last year. The Chariot. Leading to major change and transformation. This is, again, this change card. We are entering into zodiac sign Cancer season, literally. You know what I mean? But it's like, you're in charge of how your life goes forward. Finding the balance, because they are in the yin and the yang symbols. Outward and inward energies. If you go to the energy oracle cards, it's the sun and the moon. Outward and inward energy is what I feel with that one. But it's just like, you will be the victor wearing the wreath. You are definitely in charge here, and you're in charge of the outcome. Four of Swords. Rest and rejuvenation. If you need to take a day to rest, if you sleep in, it's like, you know what? You need it. There's something coming up here. I'm not saying sleep in all the time, and you know what I mean? And it's just like you're missing out on things, or you know what I mean? Because it's not going to change anything. You know what I mean? It's going to be the same song and dance the next day, But, like with myself, I knew with, like, certain situations, it's like I couldn't do certain things earlier, like with the garden, because we were still getting cold temperatures. We were still in the minuses for a while. So it was just like, you couldn't plan it before. So I was just like, I'll wait, be patient. I tilled it, I fertilized it. I was just waiting to plant everything, but it just, a lot of projects, and what I said to myself is like, listen, you won't have to do this next year. Like, when we moved here, that big hole was there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, when I started filling it, I just felt this gratification. Like, it's done. You don't have to do it ever again. You don't have to worry about this next year. You could sit there. I had asked permission. Can I take care of this? Yep, not a problem. I just couldn't get it done last year because it got cold. That's what I mean. Certain projects that are weather sensitive. So like the staining of the deck, sitting there doing the patching up the holes. I missed one, so I might mix up some more and just patch that up. And one looks like it could use a little bit more. But this is what I'm talking about. Page of Pentacles. This is where I feel like the Four of Swords is coming in. I feel like in 3 weeks' time, something's coming in here. This could be you learning. We're talking about that, learning something new. New knowledge, new information. This could be increasing on your gift. But I feel like that's why they're saying the Four of Swords. Maybe you are someone that puts their stuff out there, like on social media, and it's just like that caught the attention of someone, and now it's going to be brought forth, or you're going to get into the busy season. A lot of people wait till the summer. The kids are out of school, they're outside playing, or maybe they're, hanging out with their friends or doing something. And it's like, you know what? I have the time for a reading. so they'll sit there. Or you could be called, what they're showing is buying your own tarot deck, because I actually see someone at a table and they're actually pulling tarot cards. So again, this could be you as a healer and you're doing readings, and this is you actually doing tarot cards. You know what I mean? Because this is a good season for readings. Or you're sitting there and you're getting your own tarot deck, because you know what? Sometimes, people be charging some crazy amounts. You know what I mean? And it's just like, do what you do, you boo-boo. You know what I mean? For me, I got to look in the mirror and I got to answer to God. So, it's just, everybody's different. But, if you feel compelled, if you feel drawn, I feel like, especially with your intuition, there, you know what I mean? With seeing this person pulling the cards, you know what I mean? It's like, get your own deck. You can go on astrologyanswers.com, look up tarot deck meanings, and it's all there. You could purchase a deck from them, or you could sit there and go on AliExpress. You could go on Temu. I've had great experiences with both. I've got some really nice decks from both of them. So, I'm not saying buy 100 million decks. If you see something and you're drawn to it, add the others to keep them in your cart. And then if you really get into it, don't be obsessive. Don't pull it every day or 3 times a day, because then it's just destroying the whole purpose. With myself, I'm like, I feel like I'm tired, but I'm like, I feel like pulling. I feel like, doing a spread here. It was in depth. They're saying if you're being forced to take a rest, take the rest, because there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? You're starting a new beginning. This is where they're saying, like, your work is out on display. Maybe this new beginning is in this new location change, whatever it's going to be, with no harm to none, including yourself. You sit there, and this is what, you've been praying for. You know what I mean? This is why you have to watch your words. You know what I mean? Because I uttered something, and then the next day was not good. So it's like, we got to watch how we speak, But, this is not about depression, though. This is, sitting there and keeping yourself going steady the course. Like I said, void of course. Get up, do your routine, go about your day. Right, this energy right now. But they're saying in 3 weeks' time, it's about to get busy again. Something's coming up here. So this is where it's kind of like the kids are out of school, you know what I mean? And it's just like, maybe the kids are going into camp. So you're getting back into that routine again. Maybe there's something here that's going to be, calling upon your time. So, just sit there, take it easy, take it one day, and don't worry about 3 weeks. No. Live in this moment. What do you need to be done? Do we have to do some dishes? Maybe, God bless, you don't have to do nothing tonight. Kick up your feet, put on something that makes you laugh. Change up the energy. There's a show that you love watching. Don't watch any depressing stuff, but something that's going to put you in a good mood. Sit there and do that, so you could sit there and get yourself in a good mindset. Have a nice shower. Go to sleep. Maybe you'll get up early and have a shower. Go for a walk tomorrow. You know what I mean? God blessing. So take it easy with yourself. Be kind to yourself. But if you are sitting there and your body's like, you know what, we need some sleep, then get the rest you need. When your body needs to sleep. Yeah, you feel like, oh, maybe I should have. You know what? If you're someone like myself that used your vacation to get things done just so your mind can be in a better headspace, God bless, do it. I did it because now I don't have to think about that. That was something I kept watching the weather. I kept Googling it. I'm like, when's the right temperatures? Because they were temperature sensitive projects. You got to make sure it doesn't rain for 2 days and all this stuff. So, you know what I mean? It's just, it feels great to have that weight off of me, that pressure off of me, because where I live, it's just, you know what I mean? It's just, when you get that kind of, I don't know, that's just the way I am. I see something that bugs me when it's taken care of, it's just, it's just euphoria, kind of thing. But sometimes we can't control the things that go on around us, but we can sit there and try to find solutions to it so it doesn't give us that anxiety, And I thank Chris for that, because, it's just like, just the way he articulated it. I think I'm probably going to go on and record it and just share it, because I feel like it should be shared. Because sometimes people will say the same message. Like, I could be telling you what Chris said. It's just the way he articulated it. You know what I mean? That just resonated so much. And it's just like, you know what? I'm punishing, and I'm an air sign, so we usually have breathing issues. And it's just like, it gives me anxiety. I suffer from anxiety, and it's just like, you know what, you're hurting yourself, because it's just like, by the grace of God, things turn out, I know I can't control everything. I know that, I cannot make permanent decisions out of temporary emotions, when I was really close to doing something like that. But it's just like, some things we just have to go with the flow of it, and we're thankful that we did, because it's like, making a major decision that could affect everybody. In my case, it affects my kids, and I can't do that. They've been through enough. I'm not here to make their life worse. So do the best you can every day. But if you're being drawn to, do something and it's not harming anyone, including yourself, sit there and do it. Take a chance. I took a chance with my tarot cards. I didn't even know it was my dad's passing anniversary. And I started posting. I got myself a Fairy Tarot deck. I've always been drawn to tarot. I've read cards at, someone I was acquainted with their bachelorette party. You know what I mean? So it's just, if you're meant to be somewhere, it's like you will always be pulled back to it because you're supposed to be there. That's what resonates here. That's your purpose. So I know there's 1,000,001 or 1,000,000,001 people that pull cards, but, stick with the people that resonate with you. They don't resonate with you anymore, I'll salute. You don't have to follow them. But once in a while, they may come back up on your For You page and they'll resonate with you again. Not every single message is meant for you. Maybe some of this resonates with you, but others don't. But this is basically telling you, something here is going to be a change in location. Your work is going to be out on display. Be patient as information comes into you, and you'll be happy that you did. Like, maybe you're going through something right now, but it won't last forever. Keep believing in yourself. Keep being kind to yourself. You're the longest relationship you will ever have in this, journey we have here. Unless you're a spiritual person, then that's with your connection. So may the universe bless you good. We'll see you for the next one.